Hi everyone, welcome back to Tween Book Talks. It's Gabby again. Once more, I have been overwhelmed with excellent book recommendations from Whitney and Maria. I don't know about you, but every time I'm like, ooh, that sounds good. Ooh, that sounds good. And now it's my turn. So hopefully they and you say the same thing. Now, summer is starting to dwindle down and we need an adventure. So I have found two books that are all about adventuring. They're difficult adventures in their own way, but they're worth having and they take you on quite an amazing journey. The first one I have is called Catherine's War by Julia Bellet. Now, this is the story of Catherine, or is it Rachel? You see, Rachel was growing up in World War II era France, and she was Jewish. As a result, she was told she needed to change her name for her protection, hence Catherine. Can you imagine that? That's really hard, having to change your identity. She doesn't know where her family is or what has happened to them. All she knows is that her life is never going to be the same. She's bounced around from place to place. She starts off at a school that she absolutely loves. But then the Nazis show up and she is encouraged to flee. So many people take her in and take care of her. But Catherine isn't Catherine anymore. The only thing that helps her hold on to her identity is her love of photography. Photography is definitely an art form. I know I express myself through food. Some people do it through painting. Catherine does it through photography. She uses her camera to capture so much of what's going on around her. All of the happiness and the darkness, the love that she has experienced from other people that take her in, as well as the love that they're showing their loved ones. She uses it to capture every single emotion that she is going through. It's quite an incredible story. As I said, it takes place in France. So we get to see all where Catherine goes. One thing I like about it, it's a graphic novel, everyone. Graphic novels, especially ones that are inspired by a true story, as this one is some of my favorites. How's it inspired by a true story? Well, the author notes that she took inspiration from her own mother's story, who had to live very similarly to Catherine or Rachel. I enjoyed this journey with Catherine. I mean, World War II and the Nazis oppressing the Jewish people is not an easy read by any means. Though yes, it's tiny in volume. It's substantial in your thought. However, it's an excellent historical fiction. It reminds us of just how heinous some people were to each other and how we need to pay attention to those moments not happening again. And also, writing down and recording our memories, because sometimes that is all you have to connect your present to your past. And speaking of past, the next book I have for you is all about a crazy wild past in Clean Getaway by Nick Stone. It's the story of William Scoob Lamar, who, yes, his nickname is Scoob because he grew up watching Scooby-Doo. He's gotten in trouble for helping defend somebody at school, and he was kind of not looking forward to his punishment, just, hanging out with dad, all that type of stuff. But then Grandma comes along. His little, really teeny tiny, white, feisty grandma says, "Come on, Scoob," and off they go on a trip to the deep south. So think Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, all in a Winnebago in RV. I don't know if I'd want to go on a trip with my grandparents in an RV. What about you? I mean, it could be fun, but there's more to this trip than meets the eye, as Scoob quickly discovers when his grandma shows him her treasure box. This treasure box is filled with all sorts of unique things, including something called the Green Book. What's the Green Book, you ask? It is a true thing, a true item that helped people of color know where it was safe for them to stay. You see, back in the 1950s and 60s, we didn't take kindly to people of color, unfortunately. And not everybody wanted them staying in their establishments. The Green Book let people know where it was safe for them to be. Well, little grandma, as I mentioned before, is white. She was married to a man of color, and all those rules applied to her as well. So with this Green Book, along with a map with all these special symbols, Scoob discovers his grandma is on a mission. She is determined to go and visit places that 50 years ago she was not allowed to with Scoob's grandpa, solely because the color of his skin and their interracial marriage. Now, lest you think this book is all sad, it's also kind of funny in that we think grandma's a jewel thief. She's certainly weird. I mean, Scoob wakes up in the middle of the night and she's stealing license plates and changing them out. What is that even about? It's a great story that has heart and humor. I really found myself liking Scoob a lot, and I was glad that he went on this journey with his grandma. Now, you might be wondering why Scoob and not Scoob's dad, grandma's son. That's its own thing. Remember, family's messy. I mean, my family's messy. Sometimes it's easier said than done to have a good relationship with them. This book tackles all of that. When I was reading Clean Getaway, I was blown away by just how great of a picture of civil rights history it does. You'll be introduced to people like Martin Luther King Jr., Emmett Till, Ruby Bridges, Meridian, Mississippi. Things that you've maybe heard about in your history books, or maybe even lately on the news. This book really gets you thinking, and Clean Getaway means many things than just one. Again, Scoob goes on an adventure. It's an adventure, yes, in the South, but it's an adventure of knowing about his past and knowing about his grandma. The past is definitely important and worth remembering. So I would encourage you guys to check out either Clean Getaway or Catherine's War on our website. You can find these fun adventure reads at www.mld.org. I would love to know if you have read any books this summer involving a trip. I know I've missed taking trips with all of this COVID stuff going around. And it was nice to go on a trip to the South and a trip to Europe, because I'm not going either of those places anytime soon. Comment in the space below or tag us on any of our social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at Meridian Library. I look forward to hearing from you guys. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Enjoy some adventuring yourself, and I will see you next time. Bye.